Welcome to Collecting Chaos. My name is James, and this is part 2 of how I prepare a comic before pressing. Now, I don't always do every single thing I've shown so far. This is what I would do for this particular comic, okay? Other comics, I may not have to do all of that stuff. I might not have to do the different types of erasers and things like that. But let's get into this more after this. Like I was saying, this is not how I'm saying everybody should do it. This is how I do it. Now, sometimes all it takes is a brushing of the inside of the interior and a cotton round on the exterior to buff it out a little bit, and it's ready for the press. It's not a big deal. It's easy to do. Sometimes it takes a little more. In this case, it took a little more, and there's still more that I want to do. So, like I said, this is not what I do to every single comic. It's what I'm doing to this particular comic because I felt it needed it. So what have we done so far? I took my drafting brush and I brushed the interior pages. Now these pages are light tan to cream. Some people might say they're off-white, but I disagree with that because we have white here and it does not match the edge. So I would say light tan to cream. But I did not smell any acidity to it, so I didn't think it needed to be washed or go through it like that. The next thing I did was part 1, or my first stage, of erasers. And that's where I used, the stick erasers. And I call them stick erasers, but they're not. I might use these. I might use this. Or I might use a regular eraser. I might even use these erasers that I put on the end of my X-Acto knives. I don't know until I start working on it. That was what I did in step 1. In step 2, I used the powder or the granulated erasers. But it's still not good enough. And when I say it's not good enough, I mean I can feel the eraser fines on it. So we're going to go to another step. And this I do with a lot of comics because it helps get dirt off. We'll take a cotton round. This is dish soap in water. It's about 5 or 6 drops of Dawn dish soap and 2 ounces of distilled water. I'll take it. And I don't put much on here, just enough that I get about, yeah, I don't put a lot on there. So now that I have it on there, I'm going to take a backing board, if I can find one. I know I got one somewhere. This is an older backing board that I used from a different comic. I hope, because it's going to get ruined. Put it under the front cover, and then I'm just going to go over it very gently like this. So those of you that wanted me to wash the comic, I guess you could say I'm washing it now. Not really. Can this take off ink? Absolutely it can. But what I'm worried about now is getting off what's left of those eraser fines. And of course, it did take off a little dirt. And a little red too, but it is what it is. We'll put that there so we can see it. that has to dry. It takes 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm going to turn the camera off while it's drying. All right, it's dry. And sometimes I use ImmacuClean rather than the dish soap. But my go-to is dish soap because I've been using it for 40 years. It's hard to make changes, you know, but I do have ImmacuClean, and I do use that on some types of stains, but not for just general cleaning. Now I'm just going to take plain distilled water and do the same thing. Just a couple of drops. And I always let it soak through and then use the bottom part. And I'm going to do the same thing. Going over it very gently. I do think I ended up with a tiny bit of cover loss from the eraser, but that's to be expected. It doesn't always happen, but with newer comics, in particular Bronze Age comics, it's going to happen some. A little more dirt came off. And we got to let it dry again. So I'll be back. And once again it's dry. And I'll take a clean cotton round and do the same thing. Very gently go over the whole book. And this should bring out some of the gloss again. Can you see the gloss? Yeah. Now I'm going to repeat this on the back cover. Take this out, turn it over. I'm going to put one of my Teflon sheets down to protect the front cover now that I've cleaned it a little bit. And I used this side when I was doing that, so I'm going to turn it over like this, and I'm going to reuse the pad with the soap. I always start at the spine. I don't know why, I just do. And I have to be careful because it will pick up the paper, as you saw when I first started it there. Now it did pick up a little tiny bit of the blue, and I knew that was going to happen, so it is what it is. Now the paper pages are pretty dry, so I'm going to put this in my humidity chamber before I press it. And I'm not going to show that. In fact, when I get it to the point where I'm going to put it in the, I'll show you what I do to put it in the press. But I'm not going to put it in the press right away. What I'm going to end up doing is first putting it in the humidity chamber for 6 to 8 hours, and then I'll put it in the press. I'm not going to show any of that. I will show the results, what it looks like when it comes out of the press. And it's not that I have any top secret things about my press, and I don't want to show them because it's a secret. No, it's not a secret. It's just that the way I press comics and the way other people press comics, they aren't the same. You have to develop your own ideas on how to press things. I developed my ideas and the way I do it, and that's how I do it. I have shown them in the past. I will probably show them again in the future, just not in this video and not with this comic. And while I was talking, this dried out pretty good. It's warmed up a little bit here in central Texas. It's not quite as cold as it was. I think it's about 70, 72 degrees in my room, so that's nice. I'm not forced to wear a long sleeve shirt. This is Monday for me, and my chair showed up. So I won't be falling over anymore. I'm sorry if you liked that, but it's not happening anymore, I hope. I got a more sturdy one that will hold a little more weight. They say they're good for, this chair is good for 250 pounds, and I sit in it and, 6 months later it breaks. And I don't weigh 250 pounds. I'm a little under that. So, gotta let it dry again. So I'll be back. And I'm back, and it's dry. And my belly's full. So we'll go over it gently. I should have scanned this cover before I started, and I didn't. And I keep meaning to take scans and pictures before and after, and I always forget. A little tiny bit, hardly anything. So that's the basic prep. Now the next thing I would do is, if it needs to go in the humidity chamber, I'll put it in the humidity chamber. If it does not need to go into a humidity chamber, this is what I do. First page. I take a piece of silicone release paper, the waxy side towards the cover. Then I go to the center. I take a piece of just plain copy paper, a 54-point backboard. It's a cut down Treasury board or a Life magazine board, and a second piece of or sheet of copy paper, and that's all I use, copy paper. It works fine. You could use other types of paper. And then on the back, yeah, we'll just go ahead and use this. I'm not going to worry about it. I think that's water anyway. Yeah, on the back, waxy side towards the cover. Waxy side toward the cover here. Turn it over. Oh, we got a fold there. We don't want that. Same thing, waxy side towards the cover. This goes between two backing boards, either magazine backing boards or Treasury backing boards. Currently I'm using Treasury size backing boards because I have some old ones that I've been using. And then that goes in my press, which is heated to 160 degrees. Now before it goes in my press, I take just this part like this, so that it's just like this, and I'll steam the front cover and the back cover. Just steam them, just to help get rid of those wrinkles. And like I said, that goes into my press, which is preheated to 160 degrees. the heat stays on for 10 minutes. Then it cuts off. And I let it sit there for anywhere from 4 to 8 hours, depending on how many comics I want to do that day. Generally, it's about 5 or 6 hours that I let it sit. And then I will move it out of the press, out of the heat press, and into a cold press for another 36 to 48 hours. That's how I do it. Now, since this is not going directly into the press, it's going to be humidified first, and the reason, like I said, for the humidity is the paper feels a little dry to me, and I think humidity will help it out a lot. So what I'll do is I'll take it in my humidity chamber and I'll turn it upside down just like that. And it'll sit in my humidity changer for anywhere from 6 to 12 hours. Depends on what I'm doing. I have let them sit for 24 hours. This one I think 5 or 6 hours will be plenty. 12 hours is when they're really dried out and I really want to get a good one. And when I do that, I will generally put a piece of paper in between every other page. So in a case like that, I would have a piece of paper here. Well, actually, there'd be paper in the centerfold, and I'd count 1, 2, then another piece of paper. 1, 2, and another piece of paper, and that's how I would put it in the press. So this one, I don't think I need to do that. 5 or 6 hours should be plenty. So that's it for this video. I guess you've seen what I need to show you. That's how I prep a comic that I'm not going to do any other conservation work to, other than clean and press. That's how I get it ready for a press. So I had not planned on showing this after I pressed it. At least not yet. But I figure, yeah, why not? We'll end the video this way. So this is coming after I said, you know, after I gave my horns. And, but I wanted to go ahead and show how it looks after the press. Now, I pressed this morning. Let it sit for about 5, 6 hours, something like that, in the press. And I moved it to a cold press. It's been sitting in the cold press for another 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours. And this is what it looks like right now. As you can see, there's some gloss. It's nice and flat. It does have a little problem up here. That's a little tear in the cover itself. But like I said, it's got some gloss to it. Not a lot. It does have a little bit of wear to the cover, where it's lost some of the coloration, but it had lost that anyway. So nice and flat, and the back also. You can see these are where those wrinkles were. They came out pretty good. I did humidify this overnight. So it spent at least, I'm going to say about 12 hours in the humidifier. I think it turned out pretty good. Let me know. We'll see you next time. Maybe I'll have everything ready to go ahead and start working on that Ace comic. If not, I'll think of something. Take care, everybody. See you tonight, Wednesday night, my live stream, 8 o'clock p.m. Central. Have yourself a great day, and yeah, bye. I got to remember to cut that out.